Hey y'all, welcome back to Dr. Mandy Unedited. I am Dr. Mandy, researcher and academic editor extraordinaire. And today we're going to start talking a little bit about methodology. Basically, we're going to figure out how to start building a solid research project. Last week, we spoke about how to develop our purpose, our problem statement, and our research questions. So now we're going to talk about your research approach, choosing a theoretical framework, and a research design. This might end up being a multiple part series just because there's going to be so much to cover when we're starting to talk about building our research, and a lot of this information is going to end up being in your methodology section in your dissertation or thesis. I'm going to get better about including or thesis into the situation for my UK folks. When you are considering these different parts that we're going to be talking about over the next few weeks, remember that eventually you're going to have to justify them in writing. So it's really important that we take care in choosing our different designs and approaches and methods. But first, we gotta have a little chat. But no, today I don't really have a specific story to share with you. I really just want to say thank you to everyone who has come up to me and said that they are listening to the podcast. I know that, not everybody might be into these research topics, but a lot of people have told me that they just listen to it just for fun. And that really, really does mean a lot to me. So thank you so, so much. And also, I think since I've kind of been more present in the online world, a lot of people have started reaching out to me, online, and we've been having some really great conversations. And I really have really cherished those conversations because a lot of them are coming from people that I've known in the past. And look, I've just been through some things. I have been through life. And I just think that there's so many great people that I ran into along the way that have not gotten my attention and my respect that they really, really deserve. And so I am just so thankful that, those people have started reaching back out to me so that I can have like a conversation with them as like my now self, like I'm sorry, but past Mandy has been a hot mess. And now I really feel like I'm in a point in my life that I really am, developing into like the true kind of like person that I want to be. And to have the opportunity to reconnect with people that, I've known for so long and have seen me go through many different phases of my life. Yeah, it's just really a really nice thing that I am so grateful for. So please feel free to, reach out anytime over, Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and have a chat because I am not the best person in the world at maintaining relationships, but it really does mean a lot to me. So thank you so much, y'all. And yeah, if you want to know a little bit more about my life, especially talking about, my move from the US to the UK, feel free to follow me on social media, specifically TikTok. I've started to post a lot more kind of like research and editing content on social media and TikTok, but the one thing that has really got people interested is my experiences between the US and the UK. So I talk a little bit more about that kind of stuff there, alongside my journey of being, having ADHD and being an academic, as well as, some basic research and editing tips. So if you're interested in that, my TikTok is at Life with Dr. Mandy. So yeah, if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm doing in my life, go check out that stuff. And you can also find all of that on my link tree, which is in the description of this podcast. Okay, anyway, let's get on with the show. Let's talk about research approach, theoretical framework, research design. What are these things? All right, so research approach. This is just like your big picture plan. This is your overall strategy. And yes, it's whether you're going to be talking about qualitative, quantitative, or mixed methods. All right, next we're going to be talking about our theoretical framework. So this is the lens that you're using to look at your topic. So it's going to be a theory or a model that is going to help you explain, guide, or shape how you understand the subject that you're studying. And finally, we'll talk about research design. And so this is basically a step-by-step blueprint. It's a specific method that you are going to choose to collect and analyze your data. So things like case studies, surveys, interviews, or experiments. All right, so let's figure out how to use each of these. And of course, as I always say, when you are developing these concepts, keep that document that has your purpose, your problem, and your research questions open in front of you as you are figuring out what the pathway is going to be. Because the last thing that we want is to get off topic somewhere like I do sometimes. I know when I'm talking on these podcasts. And yeah, we just want to keep everything really focused. So make sure that you have those things in front of you. So let's focus on what is a research approach. Again, this is just your overall strategy to your research, and it's going to be one of these main things: qualitative, quantitative, or mixed methods. So, what is a qualitative approach? A qualitative approach, we're going to think about the word quality when we think about that, okay? So, we are looking for the description of something. We are looking for meaning and depth when we choose a qualitative approach. So, an example that I always use to kind of describe qualitative research is that if you go on Amazon and maybe you're looking for a specific top, right? And you go down into the description section and it's saying the top is made of this kind of material and the top is purple. It's describing the top. So that is what the quality of that top is. That is qualitative research. You might choose a qualitative approach if you are really looking to explain the lived experiences of someone, or if there is a complex phenomenon that you are interested in revealing or exploring. All right, so now a quantitative approach. Quantitative, of course, means quantity. And so this approach is focusing on numbers and measurements. So, for example, again, if you went on Amazon and you looked for that top on Amazon and you went down to maybe like the review section and it says like 30% of people really love this top, but 70% of people were not that excited about it. So those numbers are quantitative data. So if you are interested in doing a study that is going to maybe test relationships between things or measure specific outcomes, then a quantitative approach might be the way for you. And then, of course, there are mixed method approaches. So this basically just combines different qualitative and quantitative aspects. This is something I found has been really, really popular in the UK as they kind of want to get into like more creative research methods. And I think mixed methods is a really great way to kind of explore that. So in mixed methods, yeah, you might use a more quantitative data collection, such as surveys for numerical data, and then you might have interviews with those same people afterwards, which is a more qualitative data collection method to kind of explore, what that numerical data, what the deeper meaning of it is. So, when you are trying to choose one of these approaches, you want to ask yourself, am I trying to understand something deeply? Or am I trying to measure something? Or am I trying to compare or test something? And so whatever that answer is to each of those questions will help point you into the right approach. All right, next, let's talk about choosing a theoretical framework. Now, full disclosure, is a theoretical framework really a part of like the methodology kind of bit of it all? No, it's not. A theoretical framework is often presented before you get to the methodological part of your study. And again, it is the lens through which you are viewing your study, whereas, like, methodology as a whole is how your study is going to be conducted. However, I'm including it in this bit of the podcast because a theoretical framework can help influence a research design and sometimes vice versa. And so when you're choosing a theoretical framework, all it is that you are going to be picking a theory, or sometimes it can be called a model, that helps you explain or understand what you're studying. And whatever theory it is that you need to come up with, the thing is that it might be fairly obvious. It might jump out at you. And so, what I mean by that is that if you look at some of the key words within your topic, oftentimes there's probably a theory that also has similar or the same keywords. Or some of the keywords within your purpose statement might also be similar to key things in a theory. So, for example, when I was like first looking for my theory, again, I studied collaborative leadership and homeschool co ops. And so, guess what? There's a theory called collaborative leadership theory. So, it may be obvious, it might not be that obvious, but here's how to figure out what your framework should be. So, first, ask, what am I trying to explain or understand? So, again, for me, if I'm looking at collaborative leadership, that's the experience that I wanted to understand, something that proves that collaborative leadership could be beneficial in an educational setting. Ask yourself, what are the key concepts of my study? And then go and look again, go look at similar studies and see what kind of theories did they use. You might be seeing a common theme about if you just go look at the existing literature, it will reveal a lot of things for you. I think a lot of people sleep on that because they don't necessarily want to have to read a lot of literature, but trust me, if you do, the answers are there. So the literature, yeah, you can look, you can see if there's any similar studies that have theories that are really good. You could also read literature to find maybe some gaps or some fresh angles that need to be explored with a similar but not quite the same kind of theory. And there are some really great lists of common theories used out there. Don't be afraid to search for those. I have one, but I'm not sure where it originated from, so I'm a little bit nervous to just share it without knowing who created it. But there are some lists out there on the internet if you do a little search. And so, some examples of finding different theories might be if you are looking to research the motivation of something. You might choose a self-determination theory. If you are interested in studying a group behavior, you might choose a social identity theory. Or again, I said that, sometimes it might be more of a model. So maybe if you are studying the acceptance of technology use in a certain situation, there is a theory or a model, excuse me, called technology acceptance model. So, what I hope you see I'm getting at here is don't worry too much about overthinking and trying to find the right theory. It oftentimes jumps out at you, and if it doesn't, I think it will manifest itself to you clearly if you do a little bit of research. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about research design. So, this is the specific plan of how you're going to collect and analyze data. So, yeah, it is going to influence what kind of data methods you're going to choose, data collection methods you're going to choose. It is going to influence the analyzation methods that you're going to choose. It will also influence probably, sampling and things like that. So let's talk about a few common research designs. All right, so let's start with some quantitative approaches. Remember, you would choose something like this if you want to measure something. So you may try something like an experimental design. So an experimental design is when you may have like a hypothesis and you're trying to establish a cause and effect relationship. So for example, maybe you want to test whether music affects concentrations. So you would randomly assign participants to two groups, and then maybe one studies in silence and one studies with music, and then you would compare their test scores. Another really, really common quantitative measure is a survey design. So this is a design that is used to explore like attitudes, behaviors, or characteristics of a population through structured questions. So for this design, there can be a lot of components, but the one to pay in particular attention to is that you will have to choose a survey instrument such as like a Likert scale, maybe multiple choice questions, or open-ended questions if you're going for more of a mixed method approach or you want some qualitative insights. And so, yeah, when you're going with the survey design, this literally is, when you get those surveys, it says choose if you're most likely, kind of likely, least likely. That literally is a survey design. And so, if you feel like that's something that would help really shape your research, then by all means, use that. And one of the more common qualitative research designs that could also kind of be used in a mixed method sort of way is a case study. So, this is where you're going to choose to focus on a single case or a small number of cases, often to explore a complex phenomena. So, an example of this would be if you wanted to study how a specific school implements maybe a new literacy program. So you might collect data, interviews, observations, and maybe some document analysis just on that specific school, on that specific case. As for some other qualitative designs, you might choose a phenomenological design. I can't believe that I could say that most of the time the first time around. That's such a hard word to say. But phenomenology, did I miss a syllable there? I don't even know. It explores the lived experiences of people. So this involves having really in-depth interviews with people and focuses on figuring out what's like the meaning and the perception of those people with their lived experiences. This is what I used for my dissertation, which I really, really loved because I'm just always curious about the human experience. And so I really loved, learning about the lived experience of collaborative leaders. And I think it kind of like really brings an emotional element as well into the study that maybe more quantitative approaches can't necessarily do. People do say that, quantitative approaches are maybe like more reliable and trustworthy. And I totally understand. Yeah, it's got like the cold hard numbers. Some people like to, refute the qualitative approaches, and I understand that as well. However, I think that when you really want to understand the complexities of human nature, you do need qualitative data. Although I know, we have the issue of like the researcher as an instrument, you might be biased. But anyway, I digress. An example maybe of a phenomenological design would be if you wanted to understand the lived experiences of patients living with chronic pain. And that's what I mean by, like how qualitative data can be really good in that case because numbers can't really tell you the experience of how a person is going through pain, right? And that qualitative data can bring a lot of like humanity into the research and also offer really humanistic solutions, that you might not be able to get through numbers. But anyway, back on track. One last qualitative one would be grounded theory. So, most approaches, again, they start with a hypothesis or a theory. In grounded theory, you actually develop the theory through analysis. So, you may use a design like this when existing theories don't really fully explain the phenomenon. So, an example would be maybe a social care researcher interviewing frontline workers during a crisis to develop a theory about how they cope with emotional burnout. So, of course, there are tons of other research designs out there. So, really take some time finding the right one that is going to help you accomplish what you want in your study. All right, so hopefully now you have a good understanding of how to choose those major paths. And remember, these things are meant to help guide the rest of your study. So don't just choose things just to choose things, because eventually, keep in mind as well, you are going to have to justify it when you write about it in your dissertation or your thesis. Okay, next time we are going to talk about, yeah, some more methodological kind of things. We're going to talk about how to choose a sampling strategy, how to choose data collection methods, and maybe how to analyze data. That might be a full one on its own. I'm not sure yet, but we'll get there in the realm. Until then, if you need some help with your research or you need an editor, you can contact me at my email, mandykf@gmail.com. That's MANDIE, kangaroo foxtrot at gmail.com. You could also find me at my website, www.drmandyedits.com. And if you're interested in finding out what I'm doing on social media, or if you want some additional resources, you can check out my link tree in the description below. Okay, until then, I would highly, highly, highly recommend you go pick up a book by Cresswell and Poth or somebody like that and read it, because it got all sorts of good stuff in there about how to design a research study. Okay, anyway, I gotta go, y'all. See ya. Bye.